Very good morning, cadets. Hope you are happy and safe in your home. The last class we discussed about the temple towns. The temple towns of Tanjavur, Vidisha in Madhya Pradesh, Somnath in Gujarat, Kanchipuram, Madurai in Tamil Nadu, and Tirupati in Andhra Pradesh. So even the detailed picture as well as videos of all these temple towns are displayed to you. I hope you are able to understand the importance of these temple towns and how these temple towns are today the major tourist centers or attractions of tourist interest. And not only tourist interest, they are also major religious centers also. So we have completed all these topics of how beautiful Gopurams of Madurai, how the temple town of Madurai or the Gopurams of Madurai are very famous, and even today they stand as a beautiful example of how the importance of architecture and the monuments are given in the past. How Tirupati is such a wonderful place, as well as a place where close together devotees visit every year. So these topics we covered in the last video lessons. Now continuing with that topic, today we will proceed with the same topic from the how temple towns developed as a major centers of tourist attractions. Pilgrimage centers also slowly developed into townships. So whenever there is a temple, nearby temple, the people who are associated with the temple, they may be craft persons like maybe goldsmith, blacksmith, or bronze smelters, or other important people, even the people who sell flowers or other major requirements of the temple. So slowly the people started settling down in and around the pilgrimage centers. So that's a result, or as a result, the pilgrimage centers slowly developed into townships. Vrindavan and Tiruvannamalai are examples of such towns. Vrindavan, Mathura, Vrindavan is one example, and Tiruvannamalai is another example how the temple towns are grown into a huge township. Otherwise, Tiruvannamalai is a hill. I'll show you a few videos related to Tiruvannamalai, how Tiruvannamalai became such a famous center of attraction, majorly because of the temple. Another example to quote, that is Khwaja Mayuddin Chisti's Dargah. Khwaja Mayuddin Chisti's Dargah is a famous dargah which is located in Ajmer. So Ajmer is an excellent example of religious coexistence, because Pushkar, if you remember Pushkar Mela is related to Hindus. So Ajmer is an example for coexistence of Hindus as well as Muslims. Ajmer's famous dargah, that is Khwaja Mayuddin Chisti's Dargah, is a very very famous dargah where lakhs together people visit to get the blessings of Khwaja Mayuddin Chisti. He is a celebrated Sufi saint who settled there in the 12th century. Sufi is a religious cult in Islam. Like in Hinduism, we study about the devotional path to the divine. What is devotional path? In Hinduism, there are different methods of worshipping a god. Visiting temple is a worshipping a god. Doing puja, punaskar and all those things, or havan, it is also considered as a part of worshipping God. Apart from that, there is another way in you worship the God. It is nothing but devotion, bhajan. Bhajan, Mirabai, how she worshipped Lord Krishna is through bhajan only. Like Tukaram, Tukaram or Kanakdas, Surdas, Kabirdas. If you remember all these famous devotional they given a different way of worshipping God, because till now everybody thought that if you spend money or if you do large expenditure on particular aspects of ritual, that is a way of worshipping the God. But in the 13th century, the new way of worshipping God, that is what the devotional path to divine, that is what the chapter is there for in your same class 7th. This clearly explained that you can worship God even just by offering a flower. You can get the blessings of the God. There is no need to spend money. So that is what Surdas, Kabir Das, Kanak Das, all they explained, that it is a devotion is important, not how lavishly or how richly you are doing. That is not important. It is pure devotion to the God. So like that in Sufi, that is in Islam, Sufi is a cult. The Sufi cult worshipped the God in the way of praising the God, and it's a simple way of rendition to the God, or the worshipping God with the qawwalis or the prayers. And not only that, in Sufi dargahs, you can see even women are allowed to enter dargahs. So dargahs are the place generally belongs to the Sufi saints. Okay. So Khwaja Muhyiddin Chishti Dargah is in which place? That is in Ajmer. It is one of the famous place of worship of Muslims. Pushkar Lake in Ajmer attracted pilgrims from ancient times. So Pushkar and Ajmer are the two places in which place? That is, sorry, Pushkar and Ajmer Dargah, that is both are in Ajmer. Tiruvannamalai. Tiruvannamalai is a Hindu pilgrimage town of South Indian state of Tamil Nadu. At the foot sacred of Arunachalam Hills, in the vast ancient Arumulagi Arunachaleshwaram, dedicated to Hindu god Shiva. Intricately carved gopurams, and to the west huge dam was constructed in 1958. Tenappanni river nearby, and there are gardens plus crocodile farms in the small farm zoo. You see, this is the image of Khwaja Muhyiddin Chishti's Dargah. Okay, so image of Khwaja Muhyiddin Chishti's Dargah, and this is the image of Tiruvannamalai. You can see huge gopurams. Okay, huge gopurams. These are gopurams in the Tiruvannamalai temple. This is what I said, zoological park. It's a huge lake. It's a chariot with the night vision of this particular place. Further you see, so Tiruvannamalai, how wonderful, how beautiful gopurams are there. So these are the four-sided gopurams and the center gopurams. So Tiruvannamalai is such a wonderful place. Okay, now what we'll do, let us watch a video related to Tiruvannamalai. It is related to the worshipping style in Tiruvannamalai. You can see the chariot. That is the Arunachalam hill. So the famous Arunachalam hill. This is, you can see the view of Arunachalam, that is Tiruvannamalai temple. It's a huge temple complex with the temple for various gods. The Kala Bhairava temple is a Kala Bhairava temple. Kala Bhairava is a incarnation of Lord Shiva. It is a mandapam. Mandapam is, it is a courtyard type. It's a beautiful lake in that particular temple. Brahma Tirtham. Most of the South Indian temples, they have lakes in and around the temple for the purpose of educating people for water conservation. This is a beautiful Gopuram, a Gopuram of Tiruvannamalai temple. Worshipping serpents or the snakes. Once again the video of the beautiful temple, Gopuram, North Gopuram. Nandi. So whenever the Nandi's presence is there, the temple belongs to Lord Shiva. Kali Gopuram, Kili Gopuram. So hope you got a vision of Tiruvannamalai temple. So Tiruvannamalai is such a wonderful place today. It's a place of devotional or the religious importance. Now let us move to the next topic, that is network of small towns. Now we covered the topic of how the temple towns grown over a period of time, and which are the famous temple towns. They are Tanjavur, Vidisha in Madhya Pradesh, Somnath in Gujarat, Kanchipuram, Madurai in Tamil Nadu, Tiruvannamalai is in which state? It is in Tamil Nadu, and Tirupati. So these are the topics which we covered till now. Now let us move to the next topic. The topic is network of small towns. Network of small towns emerged from the large villages. Villages brought their produce to sell in the market streets called hatta. Artisans such as potters, oil pressurists, sugar makers, toddy makers, goldsmiths, stonesmiths, etc. lived in the town. Spices, betel nuts, salt, camphor, saffron, horses, etc. were sold in the market. Now, how the markets grown? When you visit Hampi, Hampi was considered as one of the famous market of medieval Indian history. Generally what happened, when there is a temple town, nearby temple town, the village, they grow because they provide the network for the large towns. Artisans such as potters, sugar makers, toddy makers, goldsmiths. So all these are required because of the requirement of the temples. Most of the villages, they brought their producers and sold these producers in the market streets. What are the commodities sold in those days? The commodities sold in those days, spices which are generally used in the purpose of cooking, betel nuts, salt, camphor, saffron, even the horses were sold in the market. Toddy makers, goldsmith and stone masons, all these people, they were lived. Why they lived? All these people were lived in and around the temple towns or the small towns, because they are the people who generally associated with the construction of towns. You can see this is a picture of city market. You can see it's a picture of city market. Like today, if you city market means you can see huge number of vehicles here. Those days vehicles are not there. They are lucky enough because pollution was very less. You can see people are purchasing things. The commodities are displayed. It's a market street. It's a market street picture. Now, who controlled markets? Samantas or zamindars built a fortified place near the towns, because markets definitely need protection from the looters or the plunderers, because plunderers or the looters, they generally attack market and loot the property or the commodities from the market. So zamindars, they built the fortified towns. Once they built a fortified towns, means they protected the merchants. For the protection which they give, they collected tax. That is what they levied tax on the traders. They levied tax on traders, artisans, and articles of trade. Sometimes the right to collection of tax was given to the temples. And most of the time, what happened? If the king is benevolent, if the king is very God-fearing king or God-loving king, generally the king allowed the temples to collect the tax. So, out of the collection of the tax from the market, it was very easy for maintenance of daily expenditure of the temples. Few inscriptions that survived, the few inscriptions, they clearly explains that even not only the temples were allowed to collect the tax, even there are instances where kings or samantas or zamindars provided land grants. The provision of land grants or donation of land grants or the power of collecting tax was written in the form of inscriptions. It's a picture here, you see. This inscriptions clearly explains about the market of Kabul. Sorry, this is a inscription, you can see. The following is a summary from the 12th century inscription from Rajasthan, which lists that dues that were collected by the temple's authorities. They were the taxes in kind. So it is a official order, like ION of the school is an official order. Temple can collect tax from on which products? Sugar, jaggery, dyes, thread, cotton, coconut, salt, aracanut, butter, sesame oil, and clothes. Besides, there were taxes on trade on whose sold metal, distillers, oil, and cattle fodder, and the loads of grain. Some of these taxes were collected in kind, while others were collected in cash. Now, what is called tax collected in kind and tax on that is on cash? Kind means when a person is producing a product. For example, a farmer is growing paddy. If the tax collected on kind means the farmer is allowed to pay tax in the form of paddy only. Otherwise, he has to give coins or the cash. So, two types of tax were collected. Two ways in which the tax used to collect. One, cash. Second one is kind. Today, we pay tax only in the form of cash. So, this is about how the growth of small towns and trades, and two famous pilgrimage center which we studied, that is Ajmer and Tiruvannamalai. Take care. Please write down all the points so that you can understand that chapter in a better manner. Take care. Wish you a wonderful day.